Hello, my name is Rob Carroll. I'm a senior consultant with the Information Lab in Ireland. And today I just want to give a quick demonstration of how to schedule flows using Tableau Prep. So Tableau Prep is a relatively new tool from Tableau that allows you basically to connect to data, to clean it, to organize it, to join it on with additional data, and just essentially get it ready for your analysis. It's a really fabulous tool, and I encourage you to check out the videos on it or download a trial if you haven't already. But one of the things people immediately want to be able to do is to schedule the flow so that, at 3 o'clock every day or at a certain time or a certain process triggers a flow to run and therefore updates the data source. So in the latest release of Tableau Prep, they've announced that you can now do that using the command line. So I'm going to just show you quickly how we would do that. Okay, so what we want to be able to do is connect to a workflow, run the workflow, and then publish it out. Okay, and you can publish it locally. You'll see the syntax and the various things here, but you can publish it locally or you can publish it straight to the server, which is really useful. Okay, so we're gonna do that now. The first step in this is you have to build a workflow. So you build a workflow as normal. So I just created a sort of dummy set of data here. It's just a day level, some sales, and whether we sold coffee, and somewhere down there is cake or something like that. So it's just a dummy set of data, but any workflow is fine. I've aggregated it up. And then in this case, I've just outputted it to a local file. So it's published as a hyper extension file, and it's just publishing to my local computer. Okay, so the first thing is we need to open up the command prompt and we run it as an administrator. Okay, so there's a couple of steps involved in this, a little bit to syntax just to learn, but essentially I'm just going to get back to the root, and I've already put this into a notepad folder, or notepad sheet, but just to show you. So essentially you're just pointing towards where Tableau Prep is installed. So program files, Tableau Prep, the version that I'm running, and then the scripts folder. Okay, so we just want to get to there as a first call. It's likely if you haven't changed the default settings that's where Tableau Prep will be installed, but you can change that as you need. So that's now pointing at that folder, and now what we want to basically do is run the particular script we're looking for. Okay, so we're going to run Tableau Prep batch file, and then this /t or -t will go to where I've saved my workflow and essentially run that. So again, if I just copy that bit out, I'm doing it in steps, but you could run that all as one. So if I hit enter here, you'll see that it's preparing to run the flow. It's now loading the flow, and then in a second we'll get that it's run. And what I'm looking for here is that this is the folder I've pointed towards, and I should see a prep schedule sample output here now in a second once that flow is run. So loaded the flow, checking for errors, hasn't any errors, and now it's processing. And you can hopefully see there that prep schedule sample output has now been populated. As I said, this is a local connection, but it's been populated in there immediately. Okay, so the next stage of this then is basically to save this file. So I've left each of these as an individual row, so it'll run them in order, and we're going to save this as what's called a batch file. And then what we can do is set Windows Scheduler to run this on a particular schedule. So I can go ahead and file, save as. So my prep. So prep schedule sample command, and you just need to finish it with a .bat. So that saves it as a batch file. Just make sure that that's there. Okay, and click save. I already have one. Yes, you can replace. Okay, so that's my batch file. So basically it runs the first one, the second one, the third one, which is what we did in here. So there's the CD, back to program files, and then runs the particular flow. So what we can do, I'll just go into this now. So I want to run task scheduler. And this is really straightforward from here. So I'm going to create a new task. I'm going to name it prep schedule daily sales. So this spreadsheet perhaps is updated on a daily basis, and I need to do some sort of processing in prep before I publish it to the server. So I can put that in. So run when I'm logged in is fine. Trigger. So we need to set up a trigger for this. So I'm just going to say run this daily at 5:40 or 15:40, sorry. Okay, so that's just the time you're setting it to run on, but obviously you can do weekly, monthly. So that one's fine. Actions. So what triggers this, or what should be done when this schedule is hit? So we want to just point it towards that batch file. So every day at 15:40, run this file. Okay, and we've got some conditions you can set, some settings, extra stuff, timeouts and things like that. If you want it to stop running, if there's an error and things, I can click OK. And that's my schedule run. So you'll notice you'll have other schedules in there, but that's it running there. My prep schedule ready at 15:40 every day. So at 15:40, this will open the command prompt, run the schedule, and publish the data source back to, in this case, a local file. And if you're not sure whether that's the batch file has worked, you can actually just double click on it. And it will run as, or sorry, if I run as administrator. So you'll see now it's running that file. So it'll do exactly the same thing again. So the next bit I'll show you is how you would connect to a database and then publish to a Tableau server. So that's also something we can do. And again, involves not local stuff, but being able to connect to databases and things. So that'll just run through. We'll let that go. So I'm going to open up my second one. So this is, again, it starts with building a workflow. So this will just log me into that server. Again, I have a very simple workflow set up. It doesn't really do anything in this case, just a little bit of aggregation, clean. And in this case, the output is back to a server. Okay, so we're connecting to a database, a cloud hosted database, and then publishing back to the server. Okay, so it's a similar kind of setup, but obviously now we've got credentials built into the database on the input end, and output credentials in order to log us into the server. Okay, so that's where there is a change. And all the instructions are within here. So essentially what you need to do is create a JSON file that contains those connectors. Okay, so username, hostname, port, password for the input, and then the same for the output. Okay, so what server is it connecting to? In my case, I've just left this blank, so it's the default site and default folder, and then again my login details. So you store these in a JSON file first, and again just to show you what that looks like. So again, I've just created something in Notepad. You can copy and paste the code from the Tableau website, and you just fill in the details accordingly, and then you save that as a JSON file. So save as a JSON file, and that becomes your credentials file basically. And I'll show you how to access that now in a minute, or how to run that in the code in a second. But you need to create that file first that allows that log on and log out. As I said, the only thing I found a little bit tricky here was I just left this blank, so it went to the default site in this case, because I have multiple sites on this server. So you might need to just play around with that depending on where you want to send it, but otherwise it should be pretty straightforward, and that's really all that you need. So again, it's done using the command prompt. just, and you'll see that the structure is very similar. So we've got our command prompt here, and the first couple of steps are identical. The first couple of steps are identical, so we can just run through those just to show you, and then we can do exactly the same in terms of save this as a batch file. Okay, and this time we've got something extra. So we still have this -t, and then it points to our workflow. Okay, so that bit stays the same. But in this case now, what we do is we add in this credentials file or connections file. Okay, so again, it's just pointing towards wherever I've saved that JSON file. And in this case, again, it'll just be that file basically. So it's just pointing towards that. Okay, so again, we can just take that code into the command prompt and hit enter. This thing takes slightly longer to load, just purely because it's logging in to both the database, in this case the MySQL database, and then obviously logging me into the server at the far end. So yeah, so it can take a little bit longer just to run through this, but the idea would be that you would set this up again on a schedule and have that run maybe overnight or at a downtime or anything like that. So you can see there it's just updated the connections, it's signed in successfully to the site, checking the flow for errors, and then hopefully it'll publish the document or the flow, preparing to execute. And it's finished running the flow successfully. And if I go on to my database and go into my data sources, my schedule prep, schedule test in here, and again I could create a workbook. So this is something that's just been published, and I can go in and create a workbook of that. Okay, so you can see the time on my computer matches the time here, so it's been updated. And again, what I would do is go back now to Notepad, save this as a batch file, and set it up in my Windows scheduler. So this would run connecting to my database, running the workflow, and publishing back to Tableau server. So really, really nice feature. All the instructions are there in the help document in terms of the syntax, but hopefully that gets you started.